see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom.
Welcome to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, powered by Jack's Angels, where we talk about your experiences, advocacy news, research, and today's heroes for kids. We are here to bring hope to the unthinkable but real experience of a child diagnosed with cancer. Jack's Angels' advocacy mission is to provide a voice for children with cancer, to effect change for a more hopeful future for those to come. Childhood Cancer Talk Radio starts right now. Here is your host, Janet Demeter.
And welcome to the show. I'm Janet Demeter, your host on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. And we are getting close to September. Childhood Cancer Awareness Month is first proclaimed by President Obama in 2010. And of course, on our show, it's always Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. But for this year's festivities, which are, of course, a call to raise more awareness for our children with cancer, I'm visiting with several advocates in these preceding weeks who work in a variety of capacities, including advocating for specific research, advocating for children with the FDA and current pieces of legislation, and advocates for quality of life and greater awareness of the bleak situation for children diagnosed with one of the deadliest cancers for which there has been little change in treatment or terminal prognosis in the last few decades. So if you're new to the show as a listener, you might be wondering, well, what's all the ruckus about anyway? Well, to begin with, only 4% of our national budget, that's right, your tax dollars purposed for cancer research. Only this tiny portion of 4% goes toward research for the most deadly cancers and those most elusive of our current science. In other words, if your child is diagnosed with cancer, God help you if it's one of the most neglected by our research system. For example, brain tumors are the second highest incidence of cancer diagnosis in children, and they're also the number one killer of a children diagnosed with cancer, yet no significant progress has been made in treating them for decades. Why? It's simple, funding or lack thereof. If you're fortunate enough not to be touched by it, and you really don't care, well, good for you. But if you are, God help you. Families quickly learn that there are no solutions for their child because the numbers aren't great enough for investors. That's probably the number one excuse for not prioritizing saving these kids' lives, numbers, and potentially curing cancer. So many of us would like this to change for those currently fighting for their lives. They know that people care and are vying for them. And of course, the many families to come. So when you just have to accept that your child's life doesn't matter to the system and watch him or her struggle helpless, or even worse, die, many find themselves to have acquired the mindset of determination for change in this unacceptable reality. So today, staying focused on the hope, people. Today from Niagra Falls, New York, we're privileged to visit with Michael Esposito, father of 5, teacher of history at Niagara Falls High School. Not only did he get his master's in history from Buffalo University, but he has a second master's in special education from Niagara University. He taught social studies in Niagara Falls for 20 years, coached basketball at the high school and collegiate level for 23 years. And currently, he's the head basketball coach of the Catholic Academy in Niagara Falls. His children range from Johnny's 10 years, Luke, who is 8, Vincenzo, who is 6, Liliana, 4, and Joey, who is 1, who he raises happily with his wife, Annie. Michael is a man who gets things done. His goal of having the NFL go gold for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month's first Sunday resulted in a meeting with Commissioner Goodell in July. He also plans to be part of the September 1st lighting ceremony in Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is a happening place for childhood cancer awareness. His friend Neal Rourke, who we just had visit with us on August 4th show, is heading the 2,000-mile bike ride down to Florida on that day, September 1st, with the Tyler Robinson Foundation at trf.org. Michael, you have a lot going on. Welcome to the show today. I'm glad you could come.
Jan, thanks so much for having me. I just want to thank you personally for having this wonderful outlet to let the world know about pediatric cancer awareness.
Well, it's truly my privilege. It really is. I'm grateful to have the opportunity myself to have the show. I think it's needed, and we need all of the avenues available to us to raise awareness for these kids who always get slighted as not being numerous enough. So we need more avenues, and I'm glad you're here. So could you tell us a little bit about this campaign with the NFL and And what happened for you in July?
Yeah, you know what? It was really exciting. First, let me just talk for a minute about a special young boy named Baby Shawn Kennedy. Baby Shawn lives in downtown Niagara Falls, and there were a bunch of schools that did fundraisers for him. He was diagnosed with DIPG last year, I believe 13 months ago. And I just read about him, and, you know, he was always in the paper. I got to find out more about this kid. Well, I found out he was, his favorite player is Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors, and he always wanted to meet Curry. And I'm fortunate enough to know the Golden State head coach, Steve Kerr. And, you know, as soon as I read it, the story, I'm like, well, I got to reach out to Steve. So I emailed Steve, and, you know, he set up a meeting and got us tickets in Miami for the Miami Heat versus Golden State Warriors game. And,
wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. You know, Steve, I was kind of nervous about, you know, what if Steph doesn't, you know, can't do it. But Steve set it all up. The Warriors spent an hour before the game and an hour after the game with Baby Shawn. They took him in the locker room, had dinner with them. It was amazing.
Oh, my gosh.
That they showed this kid. Yeah, I tell you what, there's no classier guy out there than Steve Kerr and Steph Curry. They're just full of love and compassion and generosity. It really just touched all of us, especially, of course, you know, myself and Baby Shawn's mother. And Baby Shawn's brother also came and got to go in the locker room. And it was just a magical night. So, you know, when we came home, you know, everyone's like, oh, you know, it's great what you did. I really didn't do anything. You know, I just sent an email, and Steve Kerr set the whole thing up. But, you know, we just couldn't just say, okay, you know, he met his idol and, you know, just kind of leave it at that. I felt I had to do something. So I started a letter writing campaign where I wanted people to write letters asking Commissioner Roger Goodell just to have one Sunday of the NFL season for pediatric cancer awareness, for the NFL to go gold. I'm sure a lot of your listeners know, who watch the NFL, know that they go pink for 4 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, so we just 1 week, that's it. And everyone knows about breast cancer awareness. You know, my mom had breast cancer, and that's great the NFL does that. But, I mean, like you said, you know, no one pays attention to these kids. These kids don't have a voice. The big pharmaceuticals do nothing. The government does next to nothing. So I collected, along with a lot of friends and a lot of help from fellow teachers and fellow colleagues, we collected close to 8,000 letters that we...
Wow.
Yeah, 8,000 letters. And I brought them in a big suitcase to Commissioner Goodell's office, and we hand-delivered them on July 13th, and we had a great meeting with the commissioner.
Oh, that's great. So did he give you any hope?
You know, well, yeah, that's a great question. We actually met, you know, the NFL had started their own, Commissioner Goodell hired a woman by the name of Anna Eisenbrake, and she is the head of the social responsibility department, which they created for domestic abuse. So, you know, we met with her first, and she said, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but she said that the commissioner has had a change of mind regarding pediatric cancer awareness. So I think that implied that the NFL is going to do something. We don't know when. I think it's going to be not this year, but next year. It might not be going gold, but I really believe they gave all indications, not this season, but next season, they will do something regarding pediatric cancer awareness.
Well, that's very hopeful, and we will definitely we will reach out as well. And maybe if they do that, they can have someone come on and talk about it. So that's my hope. We can't let up.
Yeah, if there's anyone listening out there, you could call Commissioner Goodell's office. You know, just ask for the PR department, and you could say, hey, you know, you could ask for the NFL to go gold too. I've contacted a couple of players, NFL players. They're gonna contact the commissioner. So the more pressure we put on the NFL, you know, that's the most popular sports league in the country. And, you know, boy, if they did something regarding pediatric cancer awareness, I really believe in my heart that could lead to an end of pediatric cancer.
Absolutely. Look at the progress we've made on the others. It's just a matter of what we make as a priority and where we put our attention. And it's because, I know you said, well, I didn't really have anything to do with it. I just made a phone call or whatever. It's because of people like you, Mike, who take the initiative to take some action on the awareness in your heart of what's most important. This is why things get done. Okay, you may think it's no big deal that you made that call, but look what's happened because of it. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So we got to keep on them in the NFL. You're a busy guy because you're a teacher. I can't say enough for teachers in this world. Honestly, most of the I can't tell you how many parents I've met that have been teachers and foundations that they've headed that are extremely successful because they get that community support. It's so key to the survival of a movement for either an individual or for a new organization, is that community support. That's key. And honestly, because of the position you're in as a teacher, you know a lot of people in the community, you know a lot of families. That's really cool. I mean, you really can make a big difference that way. So we will support your campaign with the NFL 100%. We hope that all of our listeners out there will do the same. So thank you, Michael. That's awesome. I want you to, if you would, we're going to take a break in a couple minutes, but would you give us an idea of, before you got involved with this and learned about baby Shawn, you've already been involved with helping kids. Could you tell us a little bit about or introduce anyway the organization that you have for them, for kids with special needs, and then we'll take a quick break.
Yeah, real quick. Being a teacher, I think I really try to do a lot for kids, but every day I just felt I could do more. I just want to become more involved, and I'm right across the class. My classroom's 243, and right across in 246 is a special needs classroom. And there's this young man, Michael Crimes. He's got cerebral palsy. He'll be confined to a wheelchair his whole life, and he's a huge Bills fan, and I'm a huge Bills fan. So every week, we talk about the game, who's going to win, and after the game, we talk about how the Bills play. Usually the Bills lost, so we'd be some of the players, the coaching, and so
it's around the Bills, then, this organization. Yeah. I'll just stop you there. We'll come right back to it in a minute. You're listening to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio on TogiNet.com, where kids come first for the cure, brought to you by Jack's Angels Foundation for Pediatric Brain Tumor Awareness and Research. We'll be right back after these messages from our TogiNet sponsors.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
Information about book publishing is power. The power to change your authoring life, and the power to change the lives of your readers. So join us for Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. You'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now. As the book shepherd, Dr. Judith Briles is in. And each week, she will include publishing professionals that will reveal tips and secrets to the author's journey. If there is a book in you want to listen, learn, and yes, call in with your questions each week. For more on Judith and what she can do for you, check out her website, thebookshepherd.com. It's Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know, but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author You and The Book Shepherd, with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
It's words you never heard.
There are more cats in U.S. households than any other pet. Most allurophiles or cat owners know that unlike dogs, taking Kitty for a ride in the car isn't any fun. I mean, you never see a cat hanging its head out the window, enjoying the breeze. Today's domestic cat is descended from a small Mid-Eastern wildcat. A group of kittens is called a Kindle, and a group of adult cats is a clouder. What's the word for those dust balls composed entirely of cat hair? Fluffernuggins. Personally, I like pigs better than either cats or dogs. Dogs are subservient and look up to man. Cats are aloof and look down on man. A pig, however, will look you in the eye and see as equal.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
You'll always have my show.
more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
And we're back with Michael Esposito coming in live today from Niagara Falls, New York, where we were discussing the campaign for the NFL to go gold for a week, which may happen next year possibly, and if we're really surprised this year, but more about that later. But before the break, we were talking about, I was leading him to talk about the organization that he founded for kids with special needs, and what it has to do with the Buffalo Bills. Or is that right? The Buffalo Bills?
Right.
Are you there, Mike? Okay, good. Yeah. I always, we have to take our breaks because we love our TogiNet sponsors, but I'm sorry to have stopped you when you started.
Okay.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how that started. You were talking about how there was a classroom next to you and...
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just say this, Jenna. Anyone out there listening could do the same thing I did. They don't have to be a teacher or an educator or an administrator. Anyone could start the same group. And, boy, I would urge, if anyone's interested, they can, I could leave my contact number, or, you could give my contact information. Because a lot of these special needs kids, I don't know how it is anywhere else in the country, but I know in Niagara Falls, a lot of these kids, their parents very seldom take them out. They're locked up 24/7. They don't get the experience and things we did as kids. Go out, play with your friends, go to a movie, play ball. Parents, I don't want to say neglect them, but they don't get to have the same experiences.
Right.
So, yeah, and it's sad. That's one of the reasons why I started this. But like I was saying, Michael Crimes is a young man, 18-year-old, who has cerebral palsy. Like I said, he'll be confined to a wheelchair his whole life. And we just always diehard Bills fans. We discuss the game, Friday and Monday, basically all week during the season. So I'm like, you know what? It was a preseason game coming up, and I'm like, the tickets were $25. I'm like, why not take Michael and his dad, to a game? He's never been to a game before. So it was 2014. It took Michael and my kids also. I think it was about 6 of us who went to the Bills-Buccaneers game. And like I said, Michael never been to a game before. And let me just tell you this. It was the worst first half of football I've ever seen in my life. It was hot, like 90 degrees, and the Bills just played terrible. And I'm like,
no.
Never been to a game before. He's never going to want to go to another game in his life. So he had to sit in a special section. So I went to go see him in halftime, and I'm like, oh boy. And I happen to just know the usher just by coincidence. And he's like, hey, this kid's jumping out of his seat. He's so happy he's at this game. I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, I go, Mike, how you doing? I'm like, you enjoy the game? He's like, oh yeah. He was just so thrilled. Even though it was a horrible game, he was so thrilled. And the game actually picked up in the second half. And after the game, he's like, hey, Mr. Espo, what game we going to next year? And it just hit me. It hit me right there. I'm like, why not try to take all these kids to a Bills game, a regular season game? So we did some fundraising. We got some help, like you said, from the community, who was just really fantastic with support. We had a bocce ball fundraiser, other fundraisers. So last October, we went to the Cincinnati Bengals Buffalo Bills game, a regular season game. And I'll tell you what, Jenna, I'll never forget. I'll take this to my grave. But we pull up. It was, I believe, October 16th, about 9 o'clock. It was kind of snowing a little bit. And I pull in that parking lot, and I'll never forget all those kids, with their Bills gear on, with pillows, throwing around the football. It was really special. We tailgated, too. We gave them the whole experience. We tailgated them, and hot dogs, hamburgers for them. And it was just, even though the Bills got killed, it was a wonderful experience, and one that I'll never forget.
Oh, I love that story. Oh, that's so awesome. So is this an ongoing thing then that you do?
Yeah. It definitely is. Yeah, we try to take, we took 27 kids to the Bills game. We took 30 kids to the Buffalo Sabres game. And we took 32 kids to the University of Buffalo Bulls basketball game last year. And, we never say no to a kid. There's a lot of kids in a group with autism, cerebral palsy, kids with brain tumors. We don't say no. And, we just rely on the community for support. And and a lot of fundraising. So yeah, we're going to keep this going for the definitely foreseeable future.
So can people find you on the web then to support you?
You know, I have a Facebook page called Take Me Out to the Bills Game.
Okay, everybody, take me out to the Bills game on Facebook.
On Facebook, yeah, they can message me there. And boy, it would be awesome if I try to get other groups started around the country. To be honest, haven't been that successful. But if anyone wants to do that, it's really not that hard. And got to do some fundraising. And you know, it would be great for other kids from other parts of the country to get to experience, you know, what these kids did. Because these kids will remember it their whole life. They just have a wonderful time at the game, and they just don't really get a chance to experience these things, you know, with their friends, like I said, like we did when we were younger.
Gosh, it makes me want to, okay, I live here in Southern California. It makes me want to do something like that with the Angels. Yeah. Okay, people, think about that. Really life-changing experience for children. Not that hard to start, right?
No, it's not. It really isn't. You know, people think, well, you got to do this. The thing is, you know, Jay, one thing, you know, it wouldn't be possible with the help of special needs teachers. You know, obviously,
special needs teachers.
30 kids, you know, to a game.
Sure.
You know, we need some chaperones and, you know, kind of keep an eye on the kids, that sort of thing. I mean, you can't do it alone, but it's definitely, you know, it's really not that difficult and not that time consuming either.
And most people that work in that area would welcome it, I would think, as well, having more opportunities for them. Yeah. Well, have you always had this love and caring for these kids, or was there an event that made you especially aware of it, or has it always been in your heart?
Boy, I don't know. I can't remember, but I just, you know, from maybe teenage years, you know, just seeing a kid with, you know, cerebral palsy or autism or handicap, I just felt terrible, and think, you know, just count my blessings every day that, you know, that could be me, that could have been me, and just think how fortunate I am. And, you know, I always want to do something for these people who are a lot less fortunate than I am, and I make sure my kids understand that also. Right.
And if I could go back for just a minute, because you were, just for the listeners, you know, he was telling us in the first part there about an event that he set up for baby Shawn in Niagra Falls. How is baby Shawn doing today? Do you know? He's 13 months out of diagnosis from DIPG. If our listeners may or may not know what that is, it's one of the deadliest pediatric brain tumors called diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma. It's a very difficult experience. And I watch these kids, you know, because my son had it, so I watch them a lot. So I'm always curious. I'm just wondering if you know about how their family's doing, and if there's any way that our listeners could support him.
Yeah, you know, great question. You know, I see Shawn frequently, at least once or twice a week. Nicole Vathy, Shawn's mom, we're constantly in contact because we're organizing a walk on September 1st. You know, I'm sure.
Oh, well, there you go.
Good. So, but Shawn's doing great. He's playing basketball. I just took him to a basketball camp a couple of weeks ago. He just came back from St. Jude Hospital 2 weeks ago, and they said that his tumor is stable.
Good.
No, which is good. It hasn't grown, and you know, some people call this the honeymoon stage, I guess, but we're hoping and praying for a miracle.
Yes, of course. Wow. Well, I'm really glad to hear that, and that you get to see him so often. You're doing so many fun things. That's great. Yeah, DIPG is like that. We heard that phrase too, and weren't quite sure what to think of it. And the thing is, as all these people, parents, caregivers, people that care that are watching on, that hope is so strong, you know, for that miracle. And I know that one day it will happen. It certainly will, of course, with more research activity, which is what we're trying to raise awareness for people with this whole Going Gold, is the fact that our children are pretty much neglected on kind of a wholesale rate by the medical research system. A lot of cures or treatments or therapies developed in the adult arena have been translatable in pediatrics, for example, with leukemia, and so there's a much better survival rate now there for children, but it's not because of any kind of intensive pediatric research. And the deadliest pediatric cancers, their prognoses have not changed, of course, in a very, very long time. So this is why it's so important. And that's why we thank people like Michael for the support on the Going Gold. And so before we take a break for the first half, let us know a little bit about your plans for September 1st.
Yeah, we are so excited about September 1st. The Skyline Tower is this big, huge tower in Niagara Falls, Canada, and they're going to light that up in gold because of Neal, the gentleman you had on, I believe, last week, a couple of weeks ago. And Niagara Falls itself will be lit up in gold. The falls itself is going to be lit up from 10 o'clock to 10:20 on September 1st.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. We are so excited about it. And Nicole Vathy, Shawn's mom, has been working so hard, organizing this, and everyone involved. We just had a meeting last week. We're getting sponsors on board, and I just found out. Yeah, we're really excited. The walk's going to take place at Goat Island at Niagara Falls at night to kind of coincide with the lighting in the falls.
Fantastic. Okay, I want to hear more about it when we come back from the break. You're listening to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio on TogiNet.com, where kids come first for the cure. I'm speaking with Michael Esposito today, and this is brought to you by Jack's Angels Foundation for Pediatric Brain Tumor Awareness and Research on the web at jacksangels.org. I'm speaking today live with Michael Esposito in Niagara Falls, New York, about his mission to have the NFL go gold for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, among other things, for our kids with cancer. We'll be right back after these messages from our TogiNet sponsors.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
Have you heard? The pages of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine come to life on our new weekly online radio show, American Patchwork and Quilting. Join Pat Sloan, our blogging and quilt designer host, as she talks about the latest trends, ideas, and inspirations. Her guests include quilt pattern designers, authors, quilt shop owners, and our editors, all quilters, just like you. Call in with your questions. Get quilting tips from industry experts. Learn about free patterns. Hear behind-the-scenes stories from our magazines, American Patchwork and Quilting, Quilt Sampler, and Quilts and More. Get the scoop on free stuff and find out more about the best independent quilt shops in North America. To listen to a live show, tune in Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just log on to allpeoplequilt.com/radio. To hear past shows, go to iTunes and search for American Patchwork and Quilting Radio. We hope you'll join us because we know that quilting changes everything.
It's merging and reheard.
When residents of Alligator Point, Florida, discovered a 400-pound Gaberlunzie bear raiding their garbage, they called the local wildlife authorities. The officers came out and shot the bear with a tranquilizer dart in order to move him. Unexpectedly, the frightened bear swam out into the water, where it started to drown as the tranquilizer began taking effect. Adam Warwick, an officer from the Wildlife Commission, jumped into action, swimming towards a juggernaut bear, while the other officers tried to figure out how to rescue both of them. Adam was somehow able to grab the bear and paddle 25 yards to the shore, saving the bear's life. The bear was then loaded on a truck and transported back to its home in the forest. What's the word for a last-minute attempt to get something done? A charrette.
It's merging and reheard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Welcome back to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
And we're back to the second half here with Childhood Cancer Talk Radio. I'm Janet Demeter, your host on TogiNet.com. And we're going to be back with our conversation with Michael Esposito, live in Niagara Falls, New York, about the amazing events that are going to be taking place there on September 1st of this year, 2016. New York is leading the country for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and it's really incredible. And we'll also talk about, what you might be able to do, the listeners in your general area, wherever you are in the country or around the world, to support Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. I had, this is our advocacy report, I had the privilege of attending the week-long symposium or nano course at the Children's Cancer Therapy Development Institute, and the creativity involved with developing research projects at the Institute is funded to a large extent by parents, and the work of foundations specific to this research, again, founded by parents mostly. And it was an amazing example of how together we have the opportunity to work with scientists to find solutions for our kids with cancer. This crucial funding is still quite inadequate to make speedy progress towards solutions for the deadliest pediatric cancers long neglected by our system. So it's very important for you, the audience out there, to understand that there's some crucial legislation, and this is for those of you in the United States, currently pending and literally to be decided next month, which could make or break very important private sector investment incentives for pediatric cancer research. In other words, for our kids to have solutions for their cancer, this private sector funding through vouchers and the Creating Hope Act could truly facilitate new growth and economy, and most importantly, solutions for children with terminal cancer from this private sector funding. We were privy to a talk about all the current pieces of legislation by expert and advocate Jonathan Egan. He will be with us in, I believe, next week's show to discuss this in more detail. I was so impressed by it, and I saw how everyone really was grateful for the information, even though they've been in, the childhood cancer awareness community for a while. They weren't fully aware of it, and this is stuff we all need to be aware of. So he'll be on, and if you want to ask any questions about the legislation, write cctalkradio@gmail.com if you have a question for Jonathan, and I will ask it. Okay, so please encourage your representatives in Congress to sign the 21st Century Cures Act into law again. It needs an update. We've been learning about this in the nano course, and also realize that we must work with what we have to get the job done. In the world at large, hold the United States and our big companies accountable for leadership, the leadership it claims to have in scientific progress for humanitarian concerns like medical research. The Childhood Cancer STAR Act, the Race for Children Act, and HRES 586, DIPG Awareness Resolution, all need support, and each contribute essential points of interest for improving the possibility of bridging the gap wherein the deadliest cancers are lost. It's literally called by the scientific community the Valley of Death, that space between promising therapies or promising research and then actual therapies that are developed for children. Or in, the deadliest cancers like brain cancer. It just doesn't get the investment. The Race for Children Act would enable children with cancer to be treated with the most promising new cancer drugs, basically an update of the Pediatric Cancer Research Equity Act, or PREA, so that the law catches up with science for children. And the Childhood Cancer STAR Act would improve efforts to identify and track childhood cancer incidents, improve the quality of life for childhood cancer survivors, ensure publicly accessible expanded access policies that provide hope for patients who have run out of options, and to identify opportunities to expand the research of therapeutics necessary to treat the some 16,000 children diagnosed with cancer in the U.S. every year. Now, HRES 586, much lesser known, it's a House of Representatives awareness resolution for DIPG, diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma. It basically exemplifies this lack of research funding for all childhood cancers with the example of DIPG. Technically a rare disease, like every childhood cancer, DIPG is responsible for 80,000 years of life lost per year and is the leading cause of death in children with brain cancer with no survivors. However, treatment protocol and prognosis has not changed in 50 years. So HRES 586 asks that urgency of need, or these low survival rate cancers, the terminal ones, and our children, or years of life lost, have greater consideration for federal research grants with the National Cancer Institute. Though a simple awareness resolution, it's the boldest petition for more than 4%, meant to complement and strengthen all the other legislation out there. So it takes away from nothing and no one, and could help create such an important movement forward in prioritizing our children with terminal cancer in our research system. So your representatives are there to represent you. Let them know what's important to you. It's their job to listen. Thank you. And now, let's talk about going gold for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Michael Esposito from Niagra Falls, New York, is here with us today, and his town is leading the country, literally, in this movement. What can we do in our audience to help this along? I'm back with Michael on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where every child is a life, not a number, on TogiNet.com. So, Michael, are you still there?
I am.
All right. Excellent. You made it through my advocacy report. So.
Fantastic. Thank you. I didn't know some of those things. Thank you so much.
Yes, and I'll be up in detail, actually the subject and conversation for our August 25th show with Jonathan Agan, who is one of our country's foremost advocates for children with cancer. And he actually was at that symposium at the Children's Cancer Therapy Development Institute that's in Beaverton, Oregon. It was just last week. And he gave this talk, and I was blown away because I had some questions about the history of childhood cancer legislation. And, basically he made everything very clear and had answers. And so I thought, oh my gosh, we need him to come on the show to get it to more people. At any rate, yeah. So what do you think that people could do more in their own local communities to go gold, to have their buildings go gold?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Well, I could tell you what we did, and I think other communities, other people around could do the same. We had a meeting, myself and baby Shawn's mother, Nicole Vathey, we had a meeting with the mayor and city councilmen to kind of pressure them into turning the casino gold, the Niagara Falls Casino, and what else do we have gold? Well, the Skyline Tower Neal did, and like City Hall, and the falls itself. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago.
That's so excellent.
Yeah, meet with your city officials, maybe congressmen. I'd probably reach out to city officials first, county officials, to raise awareness that way.
Yeah, whoever's listening, that's what you go with. You find that sympathetic ear and you call them on it and you make an appointment. Our officials are there for us, right? That's what I always tell people.
That's right. And
go ahead.
Very open to it too. The mayor said no problem. He said he's going to get it done. He did, and he did get it done. And we're really excited about it.
Are you going to do any kind of, I don't know what media will be there. Will you be doing anything like Facebook Live that people could tune into?
Boy, I don't know, Janet. That's a great idea, too. Technology, boy, I don't know if I'm, the most up-to-date. I never heard of Facebook Live, but, I'll definitely look into it. Maybe we could talk more in depth about it, sometime soon. But I'm open to any ideas. I know there's going to be some media there, of course. But any ideas anyone else has, I'd be open to it.
Well, would you invite people to be in touch with you?
For sure, of course.
And how could they do that? On your Facebook page?
Yeah, Facebook. My email is M, as in Michael Esposito, at nfschools.net. Give my cell phone, 716-579-3748. They could reach me. Well, I'd be willing to listen to anyone. Anyone has any ideas? Because this walk, I think it's going to be a pretty big deal in Western New York. And any way we could make it better, I'm all ears.
Oh, I think we need to capitalize on it. I think we need to lift you guys up like 100-fold and focus the country's eyes on it, because this is what we all need to be doing. I've written to Sorry, I have to call you out, Governor Jerry Brown. I've written to his office several times. I'm blown off every time. And, these are our kids with cancer. There's a national proclamation for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. You'd think that, there would be some extra consideration or listening, but we just need to be more vocal. We need to not give up and to have more examples like this. That's why it's so important that we support Niagra Falls in the state of New York this September 1st. And I challenge you, Michael, to find a partner who's willing to do the Facebook Live, because I know there's somebody near you who will. So that we can all tune in and watch and raise some cane and make it a big deal that it should be. And I'm sure you guys in New York, I know New Yorkers know how to throw a party, okay? But I'm just saying we all need to support y'all. So
I'm up for challenges, so I'm going to reach out. Definitely, we're going to make Facebook Live happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm sure I'll get some help, and we're going to make it happen.
Excellent. And I'll put it out on our Facebook page. You give me the information. I'd like to give updates on my shows, so please do that. I'm really looking forward to it. And there's that 2,000-mile race that's starting with Neal, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's going to start, I believe, on September 1st, too. Yeah.
At the event, I think he said. So at least they'll be there, The Tyler Robinson Foundation, too. I know that they have something to do with this ride. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so when we come back, we're going to finish up. You are listening to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio. I'm Janet Demeter, your host, coming to you live today with Michael Esposito in Niagara Falls, New York, gearing up for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. This show is a project of Jack's Angels Foundation for DIPG Awareness and Research and Advocacy for Children with Cancer. We'll be right back after these messages from our TogiNet sponsors. Don't go away.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
If you could live your life truly standing in a place of peace, joy, and abundance, wouldn't that make your heart soar? Now you can, with Lessons in Joyful Living, with your host, Kimberly Rinaldi, Mondays at noon Central. Kimberly Rinaldi, having created a highly successful coaching practice, now teaches Lessons in Joyful Living. She believes in empowering others and that through it, you have the ability to break through any and all barriers, thus allowing you to reach your greatest potential and joyfully step into your life's purpose. What used to take weeks, months, or even years, she can now teach you in a matter of hours with her programs. For more on Kim and her show, go to her website, KimberlyRinaldi.com. That's RINALDI.com. Then join us for Lessons in Joyful Living with your host, Kimberly Rinaldi.
It's words you never heard.
If you have a lot of spizzerinctum or the will to win, and you have a strong desire to be a part of your favorite sports team, the National Hockey League might be for you. Did you know that if both goalies on an NHL hockey team are injured, anyone at the game is eligible to step in and play the part? Teams have resorted to using their coaches, team owners, and even their web designers to fill in for injured goalies. It's as simple as slipping into your breezers or hockey pants. The original hockey puck was made out of frozen cow dung. The fastest puck shot on record was clocked at 114 miles per hour. And I'd like to take this opportunity to send out a special thanks to the men and women of our armed forces serving our country around the world.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
You'll always have my shoulder when you cry.
to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
Hey, we're back with Childhood Cancer Talk Radio for a final segment here, and I just realized I did not make the announcement for CureFest. For information about CureFest this year, which is September 17th and 18th, there are some festivities happening on the 16th, the day prior, by various organizations like CAC2. You can check them all out at www.curefestdc.org. That's www.curefestdc.org. And also, the Nicholas Connor Institute, and I think it's just those words spelled out, the nicholasconnorinstitute.org. Also, usually they have like a step-by-step instructional map of CureFest every year. Very, very helpful organization. They were one of the leaders in the More Than 4 campaign, which I still am supporting 100%. We'll be there with our 4% is not enough shirts on, for sure. And rumor has it there may be even a little demonstration plan. So just keep your eyes on our radio show page, and we'll keep you up to date on CureFest. CureFest is a wonderful opportunity for individuals, families, and organizations and new organizations to come together and support one another and network. It's a great opportunity, yearly opportunity. A lot of energy, a lot of new ideas and new friendships come about through participating in CureFest. If you can come, make it a point. And so now I'm back here with Michael Esposito in Niagra Falls, New York, where actually Childhood Cancer Talk Radio has decided we're going to make this kind of the center of our attention on September 1st. Niagara Falls, New York is basically leading the country. They're going to have the whole falls lit up gold, buildings lit up gold. And Neal Rourke, with the Tyler Robinson Foundation, is leading the 2,000-mile bike ride from Niagara Falls. I think they're starting in Canada. They're going all the way to Key West, is it, in Florida? Anyway, it's a long ride, to say the least, all for childhood cancer awareness. So, Michael, we were talking before about how we might do, Facebook Live. I could tune people into that from our page on the show as well, how we can support you guys on that really important day. Michael, are you still with me?
I'm sorry, Janet. I'm here. Yes.
No worries. Yeah, we also want to hear more about the walk that you're planning.
Yeah, we are, like I said, boy, we are so excited about this. We have so many people involved, and if I could just talk for a minute about two of the wonderful organizations who work.
Yes.
All the proceeds are going to go to two great organizations. One's called Go for the Goal, and that was founded by a woman by the name of Beth Stefanacci, whose son Richard tragically died in 2007 from Ewing sarcoma. And they're the organization. I don't know if anyone on the West Coast has heard of them, but they make the gold shoelaces, and they're getting it out there to high school teams, professional teams, college teams. They do so many things. Go for the gold. So Beth is coming from New Jersey, and her group, and half the money's going to go toward them. And what they're doing, they're actually in the clinic now. They've raised over $1 million for innovative research for studies at Georgetown, University of Michigan, the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Seattle Children's Hospital, and out your way, Janet, Children's Hospital in Los Angeles.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they do so many things. And then we
need their shoelaces.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you out some. We'll have to get your address later on. I will definitely send you out some shoelaces.
That's great.
All right. And then the other organization is a foundation called PUNT. It was formed by Brian Moorman, I believe, about 10 years ago. Brian Moorman was a punter for the Buffalo Bills for 12 years, and he founded it 10 years ago. Now it's headed by amazing woman by the name of Gwen Mysiak, and they do, I could talk for an hour about all the things they do, and one of the things they do that we're going to kind of earmark the money for is they provide therapists and counselors for grieving families.
Nice.
Children, from pediatric cancer. And Gwen was just telling me a couple of weeks ago about how what they do is build up. The PUNT Foundation pays for a hotel for a whole weekend, all the meals, and they bring in these therapists and counselors to help these families grieve. And she's telling me about a gentleman who could not say his son's name for 5 years. For 5 years, he just couldn't say his son's name without totally losing it. And she said after this weekend, of course he wasn't over it, but at least he could grieve and at least he could say his son's name. It was just a wonderful story. And a lot of people don't know about that these people need help.
Yes.
People need help, and they know, they have to. It's just obviously so heartbreaking. I could never imagine being in their shoes, and what PUNT does is wonderful. So these are two great organizations that are really going to benefit from our walk.
I love it. I love it. We need more like them. And, we do have little groups here and there around the country. We have a wonderful group here in California called We Can Pediatric Brain Tumor Network, and they support families while they're going through it. And then, of course, they support families of survivors and the grieving families as well. But they're spread really thin. We need more. We need more. I mean, even in my community here where I am, I'm wanting to start with Jack's Angels play group for kids who have experienced a loss, because there isn't enough. I mean, yes, to a certain extent, you have to have, formal therapeutics and certification and all that. But to a certain extent, we need more support for just times that these kids can get together, yes, with help there, but just so they have a touchstone so that when they go to school and they're maybe not surrounded by people that understand them, they always have that experience to hold on to. And it should be fairly regular. We have ours once a year, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I need it more than that. I love the story.
That's a wonderful idea.
Well, I love the story of PUNT. I mean, that's wonderful. It'd be nice if, it would branch out. There are more chapters around the country, something like that. But I know oftentimes they're localized, which is important too. So all I can say is congratulations. And so with the walk, so tell us where it is, how it starts, and what you expect, how many people you're expecting.
Boy, you know what? Yeah, how many people? I don't know. I know we're going to have more than 100, but I just talked to Longhorn's Steakhouse. Do you have Longhorn out there in L.A., California?
Longhorn? I don't know. I know we have steakhouses, but Longhorn doesn't ring a bell. I'll look it up.
They're so involved in our community. I take my kids to the community missions walk every year. And they were there. There were about 10 or 15 of them there. I was so impressed with that. So I reached out to a former student named Becky Torres. And I'm like, hey, Becky, I know you guys were at the Community Missions Walk. Is there any way you could get, your restaurant to maybe support our walk? Make a long story short, I talked to her yesterday. Longhorse is going to give a $200 sponsorship donation to us, and 40 employees are going to walk and pledge and raise their own money for the.
That's amazing.
It is. So that's 40 right there. And we have the Niagra Falls High School football team and the University of Basketball women's basketball team. So, I mean, that's pretty close to 100. That's only 3 groups. So, boy, I don't know how many people are going to get there, but I think it's going to be a lot.
I think you're going to go out with a golden bang. I think it's going to be awesome. And we're going to be watching. So what does your wife think about all of this?
Oh boy, she's been wonderful. When I went to Miami, we stayed 2 days, 3 days actually. We went to New York, it was 2 days. We have 5 kids, and she's so understanding and so supportive. It takes so many people, and she's been wonderful. She's got to take care of all 5 kids by herself when I'm gone, and
wow.
Organizing this, we have meetings and committee meetings, and like I said, she's been amazing.
So you have your 5 children, they're between ages 1 and 10, is that correct?
They are, yeah.
Wow. And then you coach basketball, right?
I do, yeah. For the last 20 years, I've been coaching either college or high school basketball, and this previous year, I had the opportunity to take over my son's grammar school team. And that was great. We had a wonderful year, and I'm so glad I gave up high school coaching just to spend more time with my kids, see them. grow.
That's awesome.
That was a blessing. Yeah, we're 19-0 too.
All right. Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was a fun year.
Well, you're definitely Childhood Cancer Talk Radio's Hero of the Week for all that you do for kids, just out of the love of your heart. And we're just very blessed that you made that connection with baby Shawn and his family, because look what's come of it. This is amazing. Do you think the Golden Falls would be happening? I don't know. I'm really, really grateful to you, Michael. It's awesome.
The same way, never give up. I know, and like you said, the governor has now responded, but I can't say enough about people like you who've gone through, experienced what you've gone through, and keep on fighting. And boy, you're my hero. People like you really are truly amazing.
Well, these are our kids, right? They're all of our kids. Mm-hmm. It's not somebody else's. It's not, not unrelated. We're all a family. Whether we like it or not sometimes, but we're all a family in this country and around the world. And what affects one or some of us in some way invariably affects us all. And it's easy to forget that. It's really easy to forget that. And we don't want it to be tragedy that has to be the great reminder or for us to realize that, these people have been neglected and then have to fight to prove that they are, rather than hearing, well, there are only, so many numbers. It's like, really? Well, after 50 years, that's a lot of numbers, So thank you. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And all eyes, let's be on Niagara Falls, New York on September 1st. It's Childhood Cancer Awareness Month again, folks. Let's fight for our kids. I'm Janet Demeter. I'm with Childhood Cancer Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. Thank you so much, Michael, for coming on the show today.
Thanks again for having me, and stay in touch, and best of luck in all those laws passed in California and throughout the United States.
Oh, we will, and God bless you and your family, and we'll keep in touch. And folks, visit his Facebook page, Michael Esposito, and shout out for the Bill's page, everyone. We'll see you next time.
I see them bloom for me and you.
We hope you have found inspiration from today's show. For more about Janet Demeter and her mission, visit jacksangels.org. As founder and president, Janet strives to assure that children with cancer and their parents have a voice.